Hey you guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about function notation. Okay, I'm going to use this slide right here. What is function notation? You should have the worksheet in front of you, and we're going to go over and discuss what is function notation. I tell my students that function notation is the black tie. It's a prom dress, it's a tuxedo, it's a fancy way of dressing up Y. Okay, so if we read, function notation is a way a function is written. This is the proper way that the function is written. And we will write it as f parentheses x parentheses, which is read f of x. If you have a highlighter or your pencil, highlight f of x. Okay. As we teach this, as I talk about it, we will read it as f of x. The notation is equivalent to y. I told you that. It's a fancy way of dressing up y, or any other letter that an equation, it can take a place of that function. Okay. Now, the x and f of x, that's very important, is the input value for what the function equals. Okay. So if we're looking at the example that is given right here in this picture, f of x is equal to 3x plus 1. Your input value, which is x, goes into this, if I can highlight it, I would, goes into this x right here and talks about, right here, let me do it. I'm going to highlight it. Ready? This x and this x, they're the same. When you plug in the input value right here for this x, you'll get a new output value. Okay. Remember me talking about independent and dependent variables? Your x is independent, your y is dependent. This is where the output value comes in. Everything depends on what your input value is. So, the most basic thing that we're going to look at is writing it in function notation. You guys do not need to overthink it. Do not overthink this. Don't overthink it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Y. Watch. For number 1, y equals 5x plus 3. All you have to do is substitute in f of x for y, and that will equal f of x plus 3. Excuse me, 5x plus 3. So f of x equals 5x plus 3. That's all you're doing. Now here, because we have number 2, we're at number 2 right now. Because we have c is equal to 12n minus 100, c now becomes my f. What's my input variable? My input value is n. So c of n is equal to 12n minus 100. Mine's kind of going off the graph, I apologize. For number 3 and 4, they will follow suit. 3, you'll have d of t is equal to 50t. And then number 4, you'll have m of p is equal to 4p squared minus 3p plus 7. Write that now, and if you need help, raise your hand and ask me that question. Don't forget to pause the video. After we've learned how to write it, now we can talk about evaluating for a certain value, okay? So look at 9, 10, 11, 12. They give you a value inside the parentheses. Wherever you see the input value on the right side of the equation, that's where you'll put that number. So if w of negative 8 is equal to, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, you guys. If we have w of negative 8 is equal to 4, wherever we see an x, we'll put in a negative 8 plus 5. Then we'll use our calculators. 4 times negative 8 is a negative 32, plus 5 will give you a negative 27. So, you would do the same for number 11. The n value, which is going to be 6, we'll take that 6 and plug it in place of n. So you'll have 4 times 6, if I can write 6, minus 5. That'll be 24 minus 5, which will be equal to, hopefully you've done it in your calculator now, 21. Okay, so wherever you see whatever input value this might be, you're going to use your calculator and find what that output value will become. H of 2, plug it in. G of 1, plug it in. Okay, do this now. Solve those, and if you need help on those, after those 2 examples, let me know and I will come help you. Make sure to pause the video. Okay. Now we'll go back to the thing. So we've done function notation, fancy function notation, and now we've talked about evaluating each one of those functions. Okay? The opposite of that, and not even the opposite, the next kind of step to this is now all of a sudden you're given 3 different equations. You're given f of x equals 4x minus 2, g of x equals 3x minus 3, h of x equals 8x plus 10. All you have to do is understand what each one is asking you to find. So you need to actually read the question for understanding. Find x if f of x is equal to 2. So we're going to look at this equation right here, and are we given our input value? No, we are given our total. So our output value, which is 2, that's also my total. 2 will be equal to, because where's f of x? F of x is right there. So 2 is equal to 4x minus 2. Can you solve for x? I know I can. Pause the video and solve it now. If you got x is equal to 1, that is the correct answer. Okay, so you'll go in there and do the same thing for 18, 19, and 20. All you'll have to do is plug in 12 is equal to 3x minus 3, solve for x. 19, 10 is equal to 8x plus 10, solve for x. If f of x is equal to 1, find x there. 1 is equal to 4x minus 2, solve those. Okay, numbers 21 and 22, I'm not going to do. If you want to do those, you can. All you got to do is plug in those values and find your answers. After doing these problems, you can conclude that the value in the parentheses is what x equals, and also that f of x is equal to y. Keep in mind that is how you'll be able to identify the ordered pair x and y for the function. Okay, the ordered pair right there, that's the key word in this whole entire thing. Basically, you are given your x, which is inside the parentheses, and f of x is what your y equals to, so we can create ordered pairs. Remember how I was talking about that? Everything is connected together. It is my job to connect this. If you still don't understand how this works, let me know and I will explain it. So let's look at an example. If we have f of negative 3 is equal to 7, this means that you can create an ordered pair negative 3, 7. Negative 3 is my x value, 7 is my y value. And you can graph it. So as we go through and write these, I'm going to do 31, you're going to do 32. I know that my x is equal to 5, my y is equal to 9, so then I will write the ordered pair 5, 9. That is my ordered pair. That's making it fancy. It's literally fancying up an ordered pair. So can you do the opposite direction? Could you go the opposite way? Absolutely. For number 1, we'll look at what was my x here. My x is 3, so f of 3 is equal to 5. So we can go in the opposite direction as well. Do the rest of those now. After you've done the above questions, we can continue with what we're finally trying to achieve, and that's functions in context. So when we're looking at a graph, how can we use function notation when identifying the ordered pairs? So let's take a look at this. given the graph of a function, you can write each ordered pair as an expression in function notation by taking the x and y and rewriting it as f of x equals y. So given this graph right here, and I'm going to zoom out to answer these questions, we can talk about rewriting them in function notation, just like we did right here. Just because it's on a graph doesn't mean it's any scarier. You just did this in 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there. So, rewrite using function notation. All you have to do was write f of negative 4 is equal to 1. Does not matter. And we're talking about this point right here. It doesn't matter what it is and what context it is. If it's a graph, it's a graph. If it's an ordered pair, it's an ordered pair. You can always write it in function notation as long as you have an x value and a y value. Then we can interpret and use those warm-ups that we've been using and find those values. So look at number 3. You have f of 2 is equal to what? What they're asking you, and this is the most important thing, what they're asking you is when x is equal to 2, what is my y value? Okay, I'm doing this one right here. What is my y value? So what I'm going to do is go back up to my graph. Here is the x value 2, and I need to see, and I need to connect it to the top of my graph right there. Now, I'm going to have it erased because I'm working on a program that erases, but you guys should be able to look on your paper and tell me. F of 2 is equal to what? If you said 5, you are correct. When my x value is 2, my y value is 5. Now let's look at number 4. F of 4 is equal to what y value? Well, I'm going to go to my x value 4, go up. There it is. What's my y value there? Oh, it's 3. So f of 4 is equal to 3. Finish those now. If we are talking about 5 and 6, they're just wondering what is the x value. So you go to 1 on my y-axis, and you'd find my x value. My x value there will be negative 4. You would do the same thing for 5. Okay? On your papers, what I would like for you to do is find some other ordered pairs, and I would like for you to look at, if you're doing this, I would like for you to find f of 0. What does that equal? And I would like for you to find f of 1. What does that equal? Write those on your paper right now. You have space on the right side or below it. This will be 7 and 8. And then for just extra practice, let's do another number 9. And let's talk about if f of x is equal to 4. What is x equal to? Okay? If y is equal to 4, what is my x value? Okay? Do those now.